You have something special. You have greatness in you. Hello, I'm Les Brown. This is a time where people are really looking for ways in which they can hold events and help to create a shift in how people see themselves. And I'm excited about the guest that I have today. His name is Joseph Aaron. And what Joseph Aaron does, and he's doing it for me, he helps you to take all the guesswork out of having an event. Today, it's about strategic partnerships, collaborative, achievement driven, supported relationship.
Hmm.
Joseph Aaron, do you mind if I call you Joe?
Joe is wonderful. Mr. Les Brown, such a pleasure to be hanging out with you today. One of the greatest speakers on the planet. What an honor. Thank you so much, sir.
I'm excited, and I've just been excited about our working relationship with you and Eileen and the things that we're going to do because we're living in a time where people are going through a major disruption.
Yeah.
As I said before we came on, I've been soaking my right hand in warm water and Epsom salt where I sucker punch COVID.
Get it. Kapow.
I sucker punched it. Don't you come back up in here anymore. And he said, well, I left you a present. And I said, what? You're going to have a cough. Well, how do I get rid of it, COVID? You're going to have to take some castor oil. Oh, no, my God. I think I'm going to have this cough. Whoa.
Trying to get you right now. Trying to get you.
Yeah. Oh, so people are looking for ways, and I think it's important that you stay in your lane. I know what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I speak and I train speakers, and you help people to have events that will allow them to monetize their dream. You do the marketing. You help get the butts and the eyeballs in front of the computer, and help them to begin to take their success and their profits to another level. I want to ask you, how did you get into this?
Thanks for asking. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. COVID was a part of this too, because you know, for most speakers, as you well know, Les, it was all about trying to find someone who would host you on their stage. And that was the speaking game before COVID, right? Everyone went to a hotel or a conference center, or if they're as good as you, a stadium, right? And in order to speak to these massive crowds and impact as many people as possible. But when COVID hit, all of a sudden, as everyone well knows, all of a sudden, we couldn't meet anymore.
Right.
And at that time, I was in the middle of an event. We were about to have an event at a hotel room. We had all these tickets sold, and no one could come. The hotel called us and they said, you can't have your event here.
Wow.
And you got to understand, when you have an event, for those of you who are speakers or who desire to be a speaker, someone who puts an event on, they're spending tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, or in some cases, millions of dollars to put the event on, right? And so before COVID, no one was able to do this. There was a very small set of people who were willing to make that kind of investment in order to have an event. Well, we had put a bunch of money down, and all of a sudden we had to repay all the tickets. And so I said to my partner, I said, well, why don't we try and host the event on Zoom online? And he laughed at me. He said, nobody's going to sit on Zoom for 2 or 3 days to have an event. That's absurd. You can't have a 2-day long event. And I said, well, we're going to give the tickets back anyways. So we might as well try. And if they don't like it, we're going to refund anyway. So let's see how we can orchestrate virtually what we were trying to do live and in person before. And so we did it. And the first event, Les, we ever tried, we had our biggest sales day ever.
Wow.
And we were like, wait a second, how is this possible? Because they actually sat through it, and we were actually able to hold their attention. And we thought, I wonder if this would work again. And so we did it again, and it worked again. And so I was like, I wonder if it would work with other audiences. And so we started doing all these virtual events. And so now I'm in rooms like in masterminds with different leaders who, it's the hottest topic among the highest echelon of people in the speaker and even marketing world right now. Everyone's doing events because no longer do you have to pay hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to do an event. You just have to gather the people on Zoom and do the event there. And it's changing the game.
It most certainly has changed the game. They're even doing Broadway plays online.
Amazing.
Come on. And so we've gone from brick and mortar to click and order. People can, in the comfort of their
No,
home.
you didn't. Go ahead. Go ahead and drop that.
Yeah, I had to drop that on you up in here, up in here.
Yes, sir.
All right. So people have a chance to be able to educate themselves, to acquire knowledge, to increase their value in whatever industry that they're in, to create a level of unity, even though they're geographically separated from their partners, from their organization, from their culture. And you do all the work that's necessary to put the eyeballs in front of the computer.
Yeah.
Tell us about your process and who is it that would be interested in partnering with you so that you can do for them what you're doing for me.
Well, look, I think everyone listening has now seen someone on the internet do a virtual event. If you're paying attention, you're probably seeing advertising about events. Tony Robbins just did a massive online event. He called the challenge. The great speakers or people who desire to be great speakers, even people with small audiences, Les, are now doing events. And it's not a lack of awareness, right? I like to say, for speakers, if you're a speaker or an aspiring speaker, it's not a lack of desire that's stopping you. It's a lack of direction. And so the direction that we give is there's really 4 parts to doing your own event, right? And the first thing is, I found, and Les, I'd love you to jump in on this, but I found for people who are trying to set big goals, because how many of you would agree 6 figures in a day, that's a big goal, or 7 figures in a day? That's a big goal, right? The first time, Les, I just got to tell you this. The first time I was with a client and we did $1 million in a day. I want to show you what that looked like. Let me show you what that looks like when you do $1 million in sales in a single day. Here's what it looks like. You would think that when I got off that call that I was jumping around and running around and screaming in my house. I wasn't. Here's what I looked like. Just my head in my hands, just sat there and I was quiet. Because when you do $1 million day, you've got one question twirling around and around in your head. And here's the question.
What?
What have I been doing my whole life?
Whoa.
Think about all the time that's wasted, all the effort expended to get results significantly less than $1 million in a day. And when you realize, and so some people think, Les, when I say this, they think there were thousands and thousands of people on. No, there were 164 people on that call.
Wow. You know, they say opportunity knocks on every door, but I believe, and you believe, no, opportunity stands by silently waiting for you to recognize it. Ladies and gentlemen, you just joining us. This is Joe Aaron, and Joseph has he has a formula. It's tried, it's proven. He takes all the guesswork out of it. And if you're ready to go to that next level, if you want to begin to earn money on steroids with your next event and the kind of experience that he creates, where people want to be a part of it and have their event and be able to transform their lives, increase their effectiveness and impact, he's the person that can get the job done. Tell them about how they can do that.
Well, listen, many times people will come on something like this, you know, with you, Les, and, you know, you're so inspirational. I was literally talking to a friend today, and their wife is struggling through cancer, and they're walking around, and he spends an hour a day as he walks down the road listening to recordings of you, because you've inspired and touched so many lives. And what I found,
when we get through talking, I want his number because I want to call and talk to him and his wife.
That's very kind. I'll do that. Many times I think people who feel a calling, a sense of purpose on their lives, will often imagine themselves as they fulfill their purpose standing on a stage. And they can see the crowd and they can feel the desire to impart something through their voice into that crowd. And so often I find that those speakers are waiting for permission.
Yes.
And I came to tell you today, you don't need permission anymore because
Whoa.
you can make your own stage.
Come on now.
The world has changed. You don't need permission. You just need to make a decision. And the decision is, I'm going to get my message out. I'm not going to wait on somebody else, Les, to tell me that it's okay for me to get my message out. I'm going to get my message out. I'm not going to wait for an invitation from somebody else to get my message out. I'm just going to get my message out. I'm not going to wait till everything is aligned and the economy is perfect to get my message out. No, no, no. Now is the time for you to get your message out. And so if you're serious and not just curious about getting your message out by literally creating your own event, which you can host on Zoom, you probably talk to grandma and grandpa, mom and dad, or the kids on Zoom. With that same technology, with the right system and the right process, you can now host, for many people, 6 and even 7-figure days serving your audience at the highest level. And so Eileen and I, my business partner, what we've done is, because so many people are unclear, like, what exactly do I do? We put together a 5-day training. Now it's an hour a day. We have Q&A and stuff like that. We put together a 5-day training called $1 Million Speaker Challenge. And at the $1 Million Speaker Challenge, you're going to get 2 hours a day, step-by-step breakdown of exactly what you need to do so that you can create your own event. It's time for you to get out of the shadows and into the light. You don't need permission. You just need a decision. So I want to welcome you to make the decision today. How many of you are all in on becoming the speaker that you've been called to be, on doing the events of your own so that you can get your message out? How many of you are done waiting on permission and you're ready to go all in? Typically events like this, Les, if you came live, it'd be like $1,000 to come to an event like this. But because it's virtual and you can just do it on Zoom, it's just $97. Is that a good deal?
That's a great deal.
Yep.
My uncle said there's nothing as painful as an untold story buried in your soul.
Yes, sir.
This is a chance for people to get their message out. But there's something else you're saying here. There's no secret to success. There's this system, and you have perfected the system that will allow people, and have already done it, to earn 6 to 7 figures doing an event.
We're seeing
this together.
Yes, sir. We're seeing pastors execute it. We're seeing newbie speakers doing it. We're seeing new entrepreneurs doing it. We're seeing influencers doing it. As a matter of fact, like my business partner, Eileen, a lot of people think, well, I'm not sure what to say, or I'm not sure what I would sell. Like, guys, we've experienced all of this. There's a step-by-step process to decide, what am I going to sell? There's a step-by-step process to fill the room so that people are there on your Zoom room. My business partner, Les, the first event that she ever did, she had less than 10 people in the room, and she did a 6-figure day. So you don't need it to be massive, right? You just need to be executed according to the system. So if you're ready to go all in on executing the system that's already proven, all you got to do is go to lesforspeakers.com. That's less, like Les Brown, for speakers in the plural.com. And when you go to that site, you just scroll down the page, click the link. You can buy a recording and just get the recording. That's $500. Most people opt to go virtual, and it's just $97. And if you come live, we're going to do live Q&A with you. We're going to be there to walk you through all the steps, answer all your questions. And, it's just time. It's time for you. And I were talking, Les, and there's something you told me, and you're like, there's too many messengers out there who are silent.
Yes. Evil prevails when good men and women do nothing. But there's something else you said, and you were about to go into, and I apologize for interrupting you. 4 very important steps that's a part of this process. And you were about to get into it, and I distracted you. Talk to them about those 4 steps.
Yeah. Step 1 is, we say, decide. And many people struggle to make a decision. And the reason they struggle to make a decision is because I found that I didn't even understand, Les, what a decision was and why it's such a struggle to make one. In people's hearts, especially people in your audience, how many of you would love to impact other people's lives the way that Les Brown has impacted your life, right? Well, the first step is always a decision. But we struggle. And it's like, why do I struggle, Les, with making a decision to make the impact that I feel called to make? Why do I delay? Why do I make excuses? Why do I struggle to go all in? And the answer is I realize that a decision The word decision comes from a Latin word. Is it okay if I share some Latin here? If we get a little deep.
Please go up in there.
So the Latin root of decision is the word, you ready for it?
Yes.
Incision. And we all know what incision means. Because if
Yes.
that doctor comes up in your office or in your doctor's room and he says, I want to make an incision, you're like, oh no, you don't, doctor. You don't touch this body of perfection, and I don't want to get cut nowhere, right? Nobody wants to get cut, right? The word incision is the root. It's decision, which means to cut off. Why am I
Yes.
saying this? Because when you decide to do one thing, you are also simultaneously deciding not to do an infinite number of other things, because you are a creator made in the image of God. And so you could decide to do anything. But when you make the decision, you feel tension because you feel like you're losing something. But the paradox of truth is that you must decide to give focus to one thing in order to truly succeed. And so step one is just to make the decision, Les.
And I single, and my whole body will be full of light. What's
Amen.
number two?
Number two is filling the room. Many people struggle. They're like, what do I do exactly to fill the room? And so we have a system, it's the fill the room system for the perfect virtual event blueprint. And once you have the system for filling the room and like the step-by-step process, all you do is run the play. And once you can run the play, it really doesn't matter. We usually will start you doing a smaller event just to test everything out. And you may only get 20, 30, 50 people there, right? And it's like, it's okay. Many of our clients will get 20, 30, 50 people there and do 6 or multiple 6 figures on their first try. Would it be okay if you got a little war chest first and then you're able to build off that? So that's step two. It's like fill the room. And everybody thinks, man, once I can fill the room, I'm good to go. But I'm going to be honest with you, Les, and you know this as well as I do. Sometimes they think if they fill the room, they can talk real good and then they're going to make some sales. And the reality is there's a very specific journey you need to take your clients through in order to help them go all in with you to the next step, whatever it is that you're going to sell, right? And so figuring out the offer and figuring out how to orchestrate your event to help people make the decision, whether it's good for them or not good for them for the end of the event, is key. And so that's what we call hosting the event. The whole process of hosting, not an event purely for motivation, although everybody, even if they don't buy, they're going to love it, right? The way we orchestrate it is buy or don't buy. They're going to be changed and transformed as a result of the experience. But typically 20 to 30% of the audience, when done right, will purchase your product or service at the end of that event. That's called hosting. And that's step 3. So first we had decide, then we had fill, then we had host the event, and lastly, we have what's called post event. After the event, many of the people are going to want to join your program. There is a specific strategic process for how to collect the money at the end. Les, I've literally had clients who've had hundreds of people who apply at the end of their event, but then because of the way they, well, how can I say it? Messed up the system on the back end, they ended up with 5 or 10 or 20. You're like, oh my gosh, how could you have 100 people wanting to buy and then only 20 people actually buying? And the reason is there's a system, right? And so we've perfected the system over countless events. I don't know how many events we've done, but a lot. So that finally, we know exactly how to execute post-event once the event is over, to help as many people as are ready, willing, and able and are a good fit join your program. For those of you who are like, but Joe, I don't know what to sell. Don't worry about that. We'll show you how to solve that problem in the 5-day challenge.
Joe, you're taking all the guesswork out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're helping people to begin to monetize their dream and stay in their lane and let the operational process, the system that you have put together, leverage that in their behalf to put more moolah in their pocket. That's a wonderful thing.
I was homeless, Les, 3 times trying to fulfill my vision. I was serving a youth nonprofit near East St. Louis, Missouri, and started it from scratch and was serving hundreds of kids. But one of the problems I kept running into is I kept running out of money. And whether we like it or not, many times I'll talk to speakers and they're like, but Joe, I don't really care about the money. I just really want to help a lot of people. But the reality is that your income, your impact, and your influence are all connected. I would call them, they're in a codependent relationship. Your income will affect your influence. Your influence will affect your impact. And so many times we don't want to care about the incomes. We're like, I'm just about the impact. But if you bring the money in, you're able to then pay for the distribution of your message at a wider scale in order to impact more people. Unless many people don't recognize the codependence of that relationship. And so they're not able to get their message out at the level that they're able, that they'd really like to. And it's only because they're missing the understanding of that codependence. And so I'm on a mission to help people multiply movements that matter. And if your movement matters, you're going to need capital. How do I know? Because I went homeless 3 times trying to do it without money, right? Your movement matters. Then you have you not only have a desire, you have an obligation to make as much income as you can to grow your influence and impact more people than you ever thought possible. And the best, fastest, most successful way to do that in 2022 is with virtual events.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, I'm talking with a gentleman who I have a strategic partnership with, and I'm encouraging you to do the same thing if you want to get your message out and be able to have a large audience and not just provide a venue for sharing information, but being able to create an experience that will transform people individually and collectively. And when it comes to putting on a virtual event, no one does it better than Joe and Kathleen. Y'all got get the butter from the duck. That's what I'm talking about.
So I wonder, Les, who's made a decision? If you're listening to this right now, have you made a decision? Like legit, like sometimes, Les, I found myself in stages of my life where I lied to myself and I told myself I was serious about it, but I didn't take the step. And the step is scary. And the step right now is really simple. It's just go to less4speakers.com.
Now, when you say 4 speakers, you're talking about the number 4 or FOUR?
Less4, FOR, less4 speakers, right? And we'll have a link here so that you can click it too. Less4 speakers, FOR, speakers in the plural.com. Because less is for speakers. Les is on a mission to help speakers get their voice magnified and multiplied, because we've got a world to change, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, we do. And it's something that Steve Jobs said. He said, the storyteller is the most influential person in the world. Storytellers are able to create a shift in the consciousness of people, to be able to penetrate the culture and to create a culture of love and harmony and people coming together, standing together and creating a healing for the planet. And this is a time for you, all of us, those of you who feel like, I've got a story. There's a movement that I believe in, and I want to use this platform to take me to that next level, to reach greater numbers of people. And nothing does it better than the system that Eileen and Joe have put together. And that's why I'm a part of them. And this is why I put my name and reputation on the line for them, because they get the job done. They get the butter from the duck.
And you got to get that butter from the duck. You don't want the duck leaving with this butter.
No.
Les, thank you so much. It's been such an honor serving your audience. Anything else I can answer for the audience for you?
Well, some people ask, well, what does it cost? How do I open up the relationship? Because it's about partnerships today. People come together, collaborative, achievement-driven, supportive relationships. How do people get involved and be able to leverage your knowledge, experience, and your achievements for themselves?
Yeah, I think one of the success principles for those of you who for example, I was in a room this past weekend, right near Las Vegas, and everyone in the room, Les, had paid $150,000 to be in there.
Whoa.
Okay. So it was high level achievers, people who were getting their message out. If I told you their names, many of you would know their names because they're serious, not just curious about making the impact they feel called to make. And one of the things I learned from the men in that room, he talks about immersion. And one of the success principles, wherever you're at in your life, you may not be in a place where you can pay $150,000 to get in that room. But the success principle that everyone in that room understood and was willing to pay $150,000 for was that if I could get in the room with other people who are succeeding at a high level and immerse myself in their thinking, instead of thinking my own thoughts, what if I could get immersed in the thinking of other people who are operating at the level that I want to operate at? And so the principle of immersion, I would say, is the first thing that I would recommend to everyone. And one of the ways you can immerse yourself into becoming a speaker who can host their own events and do big numbers, right? As many of our clients are doing 6, some of them 7 figures, some of them multiple 7 figures in a day. The way to do that is immerse yourself, to get in the room. Somebody say, get in the room.
Get in the room.
Right. And so we're not asking you for $150,000 to get in this room, but we want people who are serious and not just curious. And that's why we said, you know what, we're not going to charge $1,000 like you do when you come to a live event. We're just going to charge $97. And when you come to this room, you get to immerse yourself. Eileen and I are in there. It's not just us, though. The network of other influencers, leaders, and people who are passionate about learning the skill, they're in the room too. And it gives you an opportunity to immerse yourself in that room, get your questions answered so that you can start shifting your beliefs, start shifting your mindsets, start shifting your skill sets so that you can execute on the play that is, again, the most successful play that's out there. Les, when I was in that room of 150, there were 13 or 15, I don't remember exactly, 13 or 15 of us all in that room. 95%, there's only one person I can think of in that entire room who was not doing virtual events. It is the play.
Yes. This has been a billion-dollar industry, and now it's evolving to a trillion-dollar industry rapidly. So those of you who are watching, those of you who are ready to leverage this system that Joe and Eileen have put together and takes all the guesswork out of your being able to do a very successful virtual event, this is the opportunity. This is the time. Now's the time to take advantage of that and put your success on steroids and begin to leverage earning 6 to 7 figures in a limited time span and using the system virtually. It's exciting, and you got to be hungry to do it.
Unless if they do it, if they get their ticket now, one of the bonuses that's currently up on the page is we actually have a case study of someone who it was running events on a regular basis. They just did the same event again and again and again. There's government proof for this. Okay, you'll see why when you see the page. They did $224 million a year running the play we're going to show you on this 5-day challenge.
Whoa, that's exciting. This is the time. Sign up right now. Get involved right now. Spread the word. Call people that you know who are hungry to make it to the next level, who understand and know that always strive to get on top in life because it's the bottom that's overcrowded. That is your time to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. Come on, somebody.
Just go to lesforspeakers.com and we're looking forward to seeing you there.
Yes, I'm excited and I'm hungry to see you. Bye for now.